This is the 31st annual Taylor JC's National Rattlesnake Sacking Championship and Arts and Crafts Show. We're going to be getting these snakes out of here shortly, and our first sacking round is going to be at 1:30 today.
Now, every snake you see in this pit is a western diamondback rattlesnake. He does have his fangs, he does have his venom. If at any time during our show you feel that we're trying to pull the wool over your eyes by using snakes without any fangs or venom, feel free to point him out. We'll be glad to pick him up, show you he does have all his biting apparatuses.
The idea is to pin the snake's head down, pick him up with your free hand, and throw him in the bag that your partner's holding. Shortest amount of time, averaged over 3 rounds, takes home the prize money.
This is the competition that you want to win. I mean, you can go to snake shows and snake sacking contests all over the nation and kind of hit and miss, but this is the one you want to win. This is the Daytona of snakes.
We get in there to win. You know, we love each other and we get in there to win. You know, I can love you, but I still want to beat you. You know, I don't care if we're playing Mumbly Peb or Checkers, you know, whatever it may be. If we're going to play in a game, I'm going to play to win. That's the type of individual you're going to find in rattlesnake sacking.
Winning our competition in Taylor is pretty much equal to somebody winning the Super Bowl.
I love it. It's kind of like, you know, anybody else just bungee jumping or driving a race car or just do snakes.
Yeah, people think I'm crazy, but that's real relative. It depends on who you compare me to. I'm the picture of normalcy in that bunch.
To me, it's like slaying the dragon in the medieval times.
They're a different breed. It's something that people look at you and go, man, you play with snakes, you know, you're a little crazy. Well, most of us have, regular jobs, we're regular people, we just have a weird hobby.
To me, it's no different than jumping out of an airplane or bungee jumping or riding bulls.
It's a super high. When you come out of the pit from sacking, you're just shaking.
And I tell people, when I get involved in the competition, I forget that I'm bald-headed and fat and old, because when that adrenaline gets to pumping, you're not old, you're not fat, and you're not bald-headed anymore, because with that adrenaline going, you can bend over easily, you get out of there and you're shaking and quivering and your heart's a pumping and, you're breathing fast and it just don't get no better. It's most fun you can have with your pants on.
I think donkeys kill more people in the state of Texas than rattlesnakes.
When we do the snake show, most people that get bit by snakes, they get to keep that particular snake that bites them to do what they would like to do.
Snakes can scare you if you're prone to that. I mean, I've had, there's nothing exaggerated worse than snakes. I mean, fish probably don't even come close. Oh yeah, we killed one, it was 9 feet long. No, that snake was maybe 6 feet long. He scared you an extra 3, and I could do the math. It makes it 9.
You pretty much got to learn OJT, on-the-job training. You got to get in the pit and touch some snakes, You got to get in the pit and learn how to pin. You got to get in the pit and learn how to free handle a snake.
But there's some of those professionals that are good at what they do. They can have 2 or 3 beers and still do it. That's why they're called the professionals. From Austin, we're 30 minutes northeast of Austin. 30 to 45 minutes depending on traffic nowadays. The Taylor JCs put on different events throughout the year to raise money for our community, like the National Rattlesnake Sacking Championships and a barbecue cook-off.
A lot of the snake shows originated back, say like with Sweetwater, which is your world's largest, originated when people had snakes pretty much just all over the place, and they started up with a roundup.
Brownwood JCs dreamed up the rattlesnake sacking in 1968. They came up with this idea about having this sacking contest, which was loosely based on a guy going out in the wild and picking snakes up, because back then we didn't have clamp tongs, snake tongs. Back then you had snake hooks, and you picked them up with a hook and put them in a tow sack and hauled them out of the field. They came up with this idea about having this contest based on picking up 10 snakes as fast as possible, timed event like, calf roping or something.
What we do in Taylor, at our Taylor rattlesnake sacking competition, is we have 2-man teams. We have what we call a croaker sack, a potato sack. There's 10 snakes in that sack. 1 man holding the sack, 1 man pinning the snake. When the snakes go out, and you drop the snakes down. You position the snakes in the pattern which you feel like is easiest for you to handle. You have to pin the snake's head down, immobilize the snake's head where it cannot turn within a 45-degree angle. Pick the snake up, put the snake in the back. And when pinning the snakes, there's 2 ways you're penalized. One of which is if you hurt the snake, that's a 5-second penalty. If you mispin a snake, that's a 5-second penalty. And then the second way is if you get bit, of course. That's a 5-second penalty too. The fastest average time of 3 rounds is your winner. The world's record is currently held by Jackie Bibby of Fort Worth, Texas, with a little less than 17 seconds.
I was a senior in high school, and I went over there because it's 25 miles from my hometown, and wanted to enter the contest, and I was 17 years old, and they said, no, we can't let you in. You got to be 18 to enter. So I watched the contest that year, and then I had picked up a rattlesnake maybe once in my life. And between then and the next year, I picked up one other time. So the second year they ever had a sacking contest in Brownwood, which was in 1969, I went back that year. I had only picked up a rattlesnake twice in my life, and I got in the contest, and I won a second on one day and a third the other day. Won $30 prize money, got my name in the paper, and the rest, as they say, is history, because I've been doing it ever since. So. The first year that I sacked, there was not a pro and novice division back then. There was just, you get in there and sack rattlesnakes. You know, if you got the cojones to do it and you're crazy enough, get on board.
I have several world records. I currently hold 4. 2 of them are currently recognized by the Guinness people. My first world record that I ever set was for sacking rattlesnakes, and that's for sacking 10 rattlesnakes in 17 and 11/100 seconds. Another world record that I currently hold is for getting in a sleeping bag. I got in a sleeping bag with 109 rattlesnakes, and I co-hold the record for being in the bathtub with the most rattlesnakes, which is 75. And I also hold the record for holding the most rattlesnakes in my mouth by their tails, which currently stands at 8. The Guinness people tell me that only 1 in 500,000 people make the book, so I like to feel like I'm in a pretty elite group.
I've been on Ripley's twice, I've been on Guinness twice, I've been on You Asked For It, I've been on Jay Leno, Maury Povich, Sally Jesse Raphael, Ricky Lake. Not many talk shows I hadn't been on.
I've always been a thrill seeker. I like the adrenaline-producing sports, so I've done all the different things that I've had access to: riding bulls, racing motorcycles, flying airplanes, flying hang gliders, ultralights, you know, doing all those crazy things. And I liked all of it. You know, it's exciting, and I guess I believe in that old adage that you're never more alive than when you're close to death.
When the sacking first started, we used to use the 4-foot pinners and sacking, and they seemed like they were a little awkward and clumsy. And we started shortening, giving them a little bit shorter lengths and going down. So we had to make a ruling that they could only be so short, because some of these guys that we have sacking nowadays, if they could have a 10-inch one, that's fine with them.
When you're in competition, the pinner's got to feel good in your hand. If you're not comfortable with the pinner, then you're going to be thinking about the pinner or something else when you need to be watching that snake.
So we all have our types of pinners and our favorite pinners that we use, because that's a very important element of the competition.
The pinner itself cannot be any shorter than 2 foot in length. Weight does not consider to be an issue. A lot of pinners like this pinner here, it's just basically an old golf club that's been whacked off. You can see the hook shape right here.
They're good golf clubs, but we just take the shafts and pretty much just cut them off.
I talk a lot, and I guess I'm afraid I sound kind of snaky, Texas, whatever. And I don't remember how I actually wound up with a microphone in my hand the first time, but everybody liked it. So it's been downhill ever since then. It seems kind of funny that what the 2 most common fears in the world are snakes and speaking in public, and the only time I speak in public, I'm ankle deep in snakes. Now, I'm not out to get in the Guinness book or the back page of the newspaper, which that'd be more my luck. Be back there on that obit page.
Everybody there at the show kind of looks at you, you know, and they come up and talk to you and ask you questions, and, you know, why do you do it, you know, and, you know, ask you if the snakes are milked, which none of them are. You know, they're right out of the wild, they're mean, they're nasty, and they'll hurt you real bad.
You have 4 judges on the exterior and 1 judge on top who are judging in that round. The 1 judge on top is kind of like your inspector judge. He'll check your hands. If you have any cuts, marks, scrapes, whatever on your hands, he marks them with the marker. So that way, if you do get scratched, you do get bit during a round, a lot of people will sit there and they'll try to wipe their hand off or whatever, make sure there's no blood, and try to sneak out without that 5-second penalty.
After I quit the sacking, because I knew the rules and stuff, well, they were always looking for judges each year, and so what better way to somebody that knew what the rules were, to go in what to look for the penalties. So we started judging. I retired from sacking because I'd never been bit in 10 years, and I wasn't about to wasn't pressing my luck much longer. We knew what we tried to get away with when we sacked, so we knew what they'd try to get away with. We kind of went from there.
A lot of the people that get bit will try to hide the fact that they got bit because they don't want that penalty. They'll come out and they'll slap their hands on their blue jeans trying to wipe any blood that's showing, and then do this number real quick to try to get out of the pit because they know they're bit and they're going to be trying to get to the trailer to get some medical care. But, you know, tricks of the trade.
They'll try to get one side of you where you can't see them, and a lot of them, they'll be grabbing so fast that the head won't be immobilized, which is one of the rules. And they'll just pin the snake and the head will still be free moving. Just grab him and throw him in a bag.
Part of the rules are when you call a penalty on a sacker, 2 judges have to call it on the same snake. 1 guy can't penalize. It takes 2. So in your head, you're having to count which snake you're on and then hope the other guys are counting the same way because this is happening in less than 30 seconds generally.
If he received a dry bite, there's nothing to worry about. And he'll come back and argue with you if you penalized him. Oh, I didn't get nothing. It was nothing. Look. And I'm like, yeah, but it happens. The people that do the sacking do not pick the snakes. The judges pick them. We go down and bag all the snakes up for the competition. Us judges, we have been known to put these snakes out in front of heat lamps for a little bit. makes them mad. We used to have the holding pit in the swimming pool, and they come down there accusing us of putting them snakes on our heaters. And he says, we do not have any snakes on our heaters. They went here and looked around. Okay. Go to the snakes out there in the box. We didn't tell them we had them out there on that hot concrete in the swimming pool. We had one time we thought we lost one. We kept them in a used furniture store in the back corner. And it was the day before the snake show, Friday, and we were up there trying to pick out the biggest snake and the rattles, and we carried one inside to measuring, or outside, and we walked back in and the lid was open still. And so we had to count every snake that was in there, and we were missing one. Because we thought we had a pretty good count of how many was in that box. And we turned that store upside down, and the bad part was trying to tell the guy's daddy the next day to watch in the store, don't let anybody walk around. So we thought one had got away, but we never found one. So we don't know if we lost one or not.
We pretty well try to take out what overly aggressive snakes, high strikers, you know, you can tell the way they coil up. If they coil up and they're a foot and a half up off the ground, looking up towards your head, you know, that snake may strike waist high or more. Well, chances are he's going to wind up over at the kitchen tent becoming rattlesnake McNuggets.
They got the very finest fried rattlesnake, or as we refer to it, rattlesnake McNuggets. We got them right down here at the cook tent. Get you some of those rattlesnake McNuggets. It's going to take you back to when you was a kid, just like Mama used to send to you to school in your lunch kit, I'm sure, rattlesnake McNuggets.
20 years ago, today is my anniversary. I lost my finger here doing the sacking contest. And I haven't sacked much since then because I pick up left-handed, and without that finger, it's hard to do. Yeah. So I just told for Bobby.
Plus, you're supposed to count your snakes since you can only count to 9.
Yeah, that did happen one time.
I wait all year for the sacking contest down here. I've been doing this sacking down here since I was a kid. Since I was old enough to walk, I've been handling snakes. My mother taught me how to handle snakes.
Little Bobby Duke's been handling snakes all of his life. You know, I was his stepdaddy for many, many years. His mother and I used to be married, and I've watched him handle all of his life. He's a good snake handler, and he's a good snake sacker. You know, and he's the new generation. He's a youngster. You know, we're the old school guys, but he, to a degree, he's faster than we are in some regards, but we probably still beating him on technique.
Well, I had like about 10 guys tell me, you don't want to do this, you know, you don't need to be in here. And I said, no, I can do it. I can do everything. And so I just spent the last 30-something years just showing the men I can do it just like they can.
One of the stories would be a girl named Betty who used to sack while she was pregnant. She got bit while she's pregnant. Her whole arm turned totally black, opened it up like a hot dog and let it drain for about 2 months before she could even sew it back together. Now her son that she was pregnant with sacked snakes.
See, for years she used to sack. She holds 2 world titles in sacking, and they used to try to make up rules to ban her from the sacking contest. It's saying women's not allowed and stuff like this in the sacking. That it's not a woman's competition. It don't say nowhere in the rules. It just says a sacker. You can join
Sacker
whether you're a
catcher.
handler or not, or a catcher. It don't say man or woman. So there's been a lot of stuff going on with me and her in all these JCs and stuff competing, you know, for years. A lot of friction.
The 31st annual Taylor JC's National Rattlesnake Sacking Championship and Arts and Crafts Show is about to be underway. Robert Ackerman pinning the snake, Sean Jonas holding the bag. Local snake sacking team, Robert and Sean are both from Taylor. We'll lay them out here on the floor, give them a chance to kind of relax them, arrange them however they want them, sing them a lullaby, or whatever it might be. It's okay to cheer these guys on. Snakes don't have ears, so you're not gonna upset them.
I walk in there, I want the snakes to be ready to come in the pit with me. I don't want to be standing around waiting on them.
When the pinner drops his hand, the timekeepers will hit the stopwatches, and we'll be rocking and rolling with the first sacking round of this year.
Daryl got me into it by just asking me to come and help set up with the show and so forth. And as I learned more about the show, I got in there and started handling some of the snakes. Now we compete against each other. It's just a father-son type competition to the point nobody knows where it'll end. I only sack in the novelties category. I think I'll probably, if I find out I'm winning, I'll probably slow down on purpose.
And the time for Robert Ackerman was 49.65 seconds. That's more of a pro category sacking round. First time snake sackers, so we're gonna make sure they get a couple pointers from the old hands up here. All right, first time snake sackers. Tim Griffin pinning the snakes. Paul Trujillo holding the bag.
I heard that they were going to be through the newspaper, or it was some advertisement for the JCs, I think is what it was. They had a thing saying that they were going to be doing the Rattlesnake Sacking Championship out there, and I was like, Rattlesnake Sacking Championship? And so I had to check it out. And at that time I was working at a wilderness camp for troubled youth, and I figured that would be something interesting for them to see, and it had to do with nature. I started going pretty annually, and then on our wedding day, my in-laws came in from out of state and from Michigan, and they've done a lot of traveling around the United States, and they were really interested in seeing the different cultural aspects of the areas that they're at. And I thought, what better place than the Snake Sacking Championship up in Taylor? And so on our wedding day, we ended up going there after the wedding, and you know, they were finding it rather interesting. It gained me quite a reputation in the family. I became Texas Tim. Oh, my partner's Paul Trujillo.
And how did you guys meet?
We worked together at Home Depot. They said, well, get together with us before the competition. We'll put you in the practice pit, and we'll put some leggings on you and things like that, to make sure that if you're not paying attention and one tries to strike you, it won't be able to get to you. And we'll show you how to pin them and things like that.
Now the time for Tim pinning the snakes with Paul holding the bag is 1:36 seconds. That's an excellent sacking round for first time. All right, these are the guys to watch for. You want to see snake sacking at its very best. Ken Garrett pinning the snakes, Jackie Bibby holding the bag.
For the last 12 years, one of the two of us has won it. 12 or 13 years, either one of us has won it every year.
And the other one was holding sacks, so, you know, it was
But
been back
we've
and
been
forth.
first and second. One of us we hold the sack for each other, and like I said, one of us has been first, the other second for about 13 years.
You're gonna see some snake sacking right now. Just hunker down, get you a good seat, and be ready.
Ken and I started sacking together several years ago, and we started winning. You know, winning's a real hard thing to quit on. So, you know, success was building on success, and so we've continued to sack together. We go both ways. He holds the sack for me, I hold the sack for him.
These are usually the ones that set the score to beat right here. Now that's snake sacking there, ain't it? All right, and the time for Jackie and Ken, 24.92 seconds. Next sacking team to be getting ready is going to be in the pro category. A mother and son team, only one of its kind, I'm sure. Bobby Duke pinning the snakes with his mother, Betty Harris, holding the bag. Bobby Duke is a pro. He's one of the ones that Ken and Jackie have to worry about. He's moving up hard on them. All right, look like we're about to be underway.
I've been around it so long it comes natural. It's really like, to me, getting in there sacking probably be like somebody getting ready to ride. I used to ride bulls to get that adrenaline rush, you know. But is there any kind of rituals or anything like that? I don't have any because I've been doing it so long. I mean, it's like a routine to me. I just get real excited about it.
Ken, are you looking? I'm afraid that might be a new time to beat. What's your heart rate right now, Bobby? About 500? And the time for Bobby Duke, 38.99 seconds. Good sacking round, 38.99 seconds. That's including apparently 3 penalties.
You know, certainly little Bobby would have to be the one to watch. And little Bobby's been handling snakes all of his life, you know, and he's been involved in the sacking contest for many, many years. And certainly I think he might be one of the persons that will probably eventually unseat Ken Garrett and I, because Ken Garrett and I have absolutely dominated the sport for many, many years.
Another pro sacker. If anyone may come along and give old Bobby a hard time, this will be the man, Jackie Bibby.
I always admit Jackie's a showman, and I handle snakes for him, and my job is to make him look good, and I do it damn well.
That's right. When I first became involved in the competition, I was green as grass, but you know, I was young, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I was Cool Daddy Supreme, Rich Girl's Playboy, and a Poor Girl's Dream. So certainly it wasn't any problem for me to get in a pit full of rattlesnakes.
Judges and timekeepers, be ready. Well, he's done. Oh, is he done? He's done. And the time for Jackie and Ken, 43.04 seconds. Jackie Bibby, 43.04 seconds.
Folks, we got David Gay and Trey Keith in the pro category. David Gay will be pinning the snakes and Trey will be catching them.
It's always been my horror that someone would fall down in there. Someone's boot heel catches on the side and you fall down in there. Probably easier to make a new one than to get you healed up. I'd just stay there. You're in the right position. That's the position that the morgue is going to want you in. Just lay there.
Come on, y'all, let's cheer them on. All right, let's give a hand to David and Trey.
Ouch!
The time for David and Trey is 60.34 seconds. That's a good time.
If it looks easy, we've still got some sign-up forms over here. All we require is $20 sign-up fee and proof of insurance. You're gonna want that.
Well, I just had the first sacking round of the day. Snake number 4 or number 5 tried to turn over in my hand when I picked him up. As I threw him into the bag, he scraped me in the back of the knuckle. Put my hand in my pocket, hide it from the judges. Don't need no penalties.
Ken Garrett, which won first place last year, he was in the first round, so he gets in there and sacks in a 24-second time. So I knew that I had to beat a 24. So me and my mother get in there, dump the snakes out, lay them out, and lo and behold, I got a 23. All the judges considered a 23-second time on their stopwatches. 5 minutes afterwards, they come back with 3 penalties, so which made a 15-second penalty, which made my time a 38. They penalized me because they said I wasn't pinning the snakes correct. Well, I'm pinning them just like everybody else is, and that's what all the friction's about. Just like last year, I had the fastest times out of all the sackers. My average time in 3 rounds, they take your times and they average them out. In 3 rounds, my average time was like a 22-second time. And the second slowest time was like a 24, then you had a 26. Well, I had first place. Well, they had a meeting between the JCs, and they determined that because I got a penalty in one of my rounds, even though I was faster than everybody else and had the fastest time, I couldn't get first place. There's been a bunch, they've been doing me this way for quite a while. The last 3 or 4 years in a row I've been down here, I've had the fastest times. And they penalize me, and I always end up getting 3rd place for some, even if I do have the fastest time. Ken Garrett won. The same one that won year before last. The same teams that's been winning the last 10 years in a row. Seems like favoritism to me. You got somebody that comes in that's faster, and they don't like it. You're taking their fame away from them.
Yeah, it's not all for the money. It's for the fame and the women. You know how women flock around a professional snake sacker? Sure ain't their looks, is it?
It looks dangerous for the guy pinning the snakes. Don't forget the bag man.
A lot of people don't realize it, but the guy holding the sack is very important. You have to cover the other guy. You have to block the judges so they don't see the penalties. You have to, the guy misses the bag with a snake, you got to be able to catch a snake in midair and flip it into the bag. And it's a technique and a knack that you don't just pick up overnight. It's something that you have to learn.
The sack holder is so very, very important to the team because that person holding that sack's got to have the mouth of that sack within inches of that snake, because you've got to put it in there. If you're going to get a time under 20 seconds, which is going to be less than 2 seconds per snake, you know, you're going to be putting those snakes in there in a hurry. So that sack, that opening, and the mouth of that sack has to be right there.
He may use his legs to cover, and he'll put the sack down and lay it on top of the other snakes. It keeps them calm, they don't move around, and they will not strike from underneath that sack, usually.
When the guy pinning the snakes throws the snake in, you know, they're in a hurry. It is a rattlesnake, so sometimes the aim's not good. I mean, a snake, you know, they're long, skinny. Half of him goes in, half of him hangs out. That bag holder can't touch that snake, but he can shake that bag and flip him up in there.
If the snakes ever crawl, and a lot of it's luck of the draw, you get a good group of snakes, they lay up pretty, they don't crawl on you, you don't lose any. Your sack holder guards you every time. He's got that sack right there. You don't miss with something. Sometimes we'll miss the sack or partially miss the sack. Sack holder's got to flip it on in for you while you're going for another snake. All those things are little things that you develop over many, many years of doing it, and you just get damn good at it. There's got to be a rhythm, and you got to be a flow. If that flow's not going on, you ain't got a chance of getting under 30 seconds with these snakes. And stepping in front of snakes and talking to one another. We talk in that pit. We carry on a conversation about where the snakes are, what's going on. Get a good pin, you know, watch that snake, be careful, you know, and encouraging each other. Looking good, great pin, fast, good job, you know, got it going on. And all those things are very, very important in getting that flow going, because that flow is so important.
They strike off of heat and movement. One another misconceptions is that people see, a lot of the old John Wayne movies that you see, they get up there and boy, they pull the knife out and they cut an X and boy, they try to suck the venom out of your bite. That's probably the worst thing the person could possibly do. What we use in our shows and what most of the paramedics and EMTs use when they come and treat bites at our shows is called the extractor. You can see it right here. It's like a big syringe. You got a suction cup that goes on the end, and there's different size cups for different places that you're bit. But basically, it's a real simple one-handed operation. You pull the plunger out, put the cup on, you apply it over the bite, push in the plunger, and you can see it actually draws the skin up into the cup.
And they put that on there and extract it out. It's 750 milliliters of pressure. It'll suck a hickey on you if you're not careful.
And what you're doing basically is you're taking this, you're drawing the venom out of the same hole in which it was injected.
And if you get that thing on properly over a snake bite in the first 10 or 15 seconds, you've got a good chance of getting 80–90% of the venom out.
We've only had one member die in all the years we've been doing our shows. He got bit probably 13 times, and on the 14th time he just fell over. Just the bite caught him in the right place.
The venom, to me, it feels almost like you got a lighter sticking to your skin, and it starts swelling, and the swelling causes pressure, and it causes more pain. And it usually don't stop hurting until they cut you to relieve the pressure and get all the rotten tissue out of there.
I've had people who've lost, like I said, part of their fingers. They've been cut from here all the way up to here and had to be scraped all the way through, and have had somewhere close to 100 stitches down their arms.
I've seen a guy take a bite in the hand or in the finger, and he turned black and blue from his arm halfway down his body to his waist.
I've seen guys get bit on Saturday and be back on Sunday wanting to do competition if they could get back in it, if they were capable, have their arm in a sling and stuff, and be ready to go back in.
Now, I count bites that put me in the hospital as serious bites.
I received one here in my wrist in El Paso, demonstrating how we do the sacking in Taylor.
Luckily, I've not lost any fingers yet from any of the bites. All of my bites have been on my hand, 4 on this hand, 1 on this hand. But I have limited mobility in this thumb. Got some pretty serious scarring here on this finger from 2 bites. So I hadn't lost anything, but horrible, horrible pain, just beyond what you can describe.
I've been bit 5 times. Got bit here in 1997, right here on top of the hand in Waxahachie, Texas. They did the fasciotomy here. Got bit here in 1985. They did the fasciotomy and the skin graft. Got bit right here in Taylor in 1998. In the sacking contest, they get these scars, and I've been bit twice on the legs. That's the ones that I count because I've been hospitalized over. I've had a bunch of dry bites and a bunch of bites that I didn't receive treatment on, so they don't count.
I was pinning him, and I picked him up too far behind his neck, and he just turned around and bit me.
She got bit twice.
Yeah, I bit on the side of this finger the first time. I put him back down and repinned him, and the amount of blood it was bleeding, I lost it, and he got me again. So. But I did finish all 10 snakes, and I spent 8 weeks in the hospital, like about 10 different surgeries, and they told me I'd never use my hand again, but I was determined I was going to. And the first day I got home from the hospital, I went out and picked up another rattlesnake to get over my fear. Still doing it.
I got bit down here in '98 on a Saturday. They carried me to Scott and White Hospital, did surgery on me Saturday night, released me Sunday, and I came back and sacked the next day with a bandage on my hand.
Well, I took you out of the hospital to do a show before.
I know.
After a while.
I got bit here, and 1 week later I got bit on the kneecap. 2 days after I got out of the hospital from this bite, I went home, went to pick up some snakes and was changing them out of the box, and he turned around and bit me on the kneecap. And I went back to the same exact hospital, the same doctor worked on me. He knew I was allergic to anti-venom and give me anti-venom anyway, and caused me to have, caused my heart to quit beating for like a minute and a half or some crap like that. I don't know how long I was out, and they shocked me with the little paddle deals and took me to surgery and cut me open some more.
I held him too long, he flinched, got twisted. As I was going in the bag, I remember seeing he just raking the fangs like this. Just as I turned loose of him, he hung right in there. And it was Then the extractor that we use wouldn't really seat on that rounded part of my finger, so I didn't really get any of the venom out. So it swelled a little past the center point of my chest. And, you know, but riding in a helicopter's fun. You know, gotta take the good with the bad. About 6 months, and at the time it wasn't too bad, $15,000 later, I was pretty well able to use my hand again. I don't know, I was actually, you know, kind of close to death, I think, for a couple of days.
At one time, when I was bitten in the sacking contest on my thumb, I was in the hospital 10 days. The third day, they were concerned that I might die because I was really, really sick. Had serious blood poisoning about halfway up my arm, was having a lot of serious reactions. They had to use a lot of really hot antibiotics to keep me alive. So there was some concern with me losing my life the third day after that was probably the most serious bite I received.
A lot of times I refuse to go to the hospital. Because I know when I got to go to the hospital. And you ain't gonna make me do nothing I don't want to do.
If you have to be treated with the serum, the antivenin, then 2 weeks later, 10 days, you're probably gonna have an experience called serum sickness, which is sometimes worse than snake bite. It's real powerful stuff. Antivenin's great. If you're fixing to die, I highly recommend it. If you're not, I'd say be real careful about taking antivenin, because I've had serum sickness 2 times in my life, and if you don't die, you'll wish you'd hurry up and do so, because it is horrible, worse than the snake bite.
We have a lot of people that have never even handled a snake will get in the thing and go do the competition. And they're the ones that's kind of interesting to watch, because 90% of the times there'll be one of them that will get bit. They think they're macho man, do it to impress their friends or something, and go in there and...
Everybody come on in and get your seat. We're about to get underway with another sacking round.
We got Robert Ackerman pinning the snake and Sean Jonas catching them.
Now, any snake that's like a problem snake that wants to crawl away, that's the first snake I'm going to take. Because I don't want to leave him until later, because if I do, then I'm going to end up having to go chase him around that pit. And I don't want to have to go looking for him. If I can stay in one place, it's a lot faster. When they come out of that bag, they're in a big ball. You want to individually separate them snakes out so that when you reach over there to pull one, you don't pull 2 or 3 snakes. If you pull more than one snake, you're going to end up with one in your lap that you don't want. I pull them to me because I'm too fat and too old to move around.
All right, the time for Robert and Sean was 53.87. All right, we got Ken Garrett and Jackie Bibby in the pro category. Y'all got to watch them real close. They're fast. We got Ken Garrett pinning the snakes and Jackie Bibby catching them. See how Ken lines them out like a chessboard. All right, judges and timekeepers, let's get on ready. They're fixing to start. There he goes, y'all. Come on, let's cheer them on. They're fast.
I do something that nobody else really does. I do use a 2-handed technique to put the snakes in the bag quite a bit, at which point I have to lay the pinner down. It doesn't really make any difference to me which end of the pinner I pin the snake with. Nobody else uses the back end of the pinner, but I do, and it saves a lot of time trying to turn the pinner around. It's quicker if you don't have to lay it down, but it's so much more accurate and so much safer if you do. And I really just don't want to get bit, but I figure I'm pretty quick the way I am, so I keep doing it that way.
All right, y'all, let's give them a round of applause. Ken Garrett and Jackie Bibby. Next up, we're going to have David Gay and Trey Keith.
They considered us to be so barbaric, I mean, that we actually, you could almost say we had a price on our heads in London, Tokyo, places like this. They just couldn't believe that people like us existed. You know, why you want to hurt a poor little old rattlesnake.
All right, folks, here we go. Let's cheer them on. The local team here going to the pro category. Ain't very often you get locals going to the pro.
I know it sounds weird, but it's relaxing, really, in a demented sort of way, to go catch a few rattlesnakes. It's exciting and relaxing. It's just something I enjoy doing.
The time for Trey and David was 56.60. All right, we're going to have Bobby, Duke, and Betty. They're in the pro category.
The best way I like to sack is get them in the line and get them about 6 inches apart. And she gets down with the bag and she goes backwards. And she uses that bag to cover the other snake. While I'm pinning this snake, she's got the other one covered. That way he can't strike me. And we just run like that.
The only snake I'm concerned with is the one he's going to put in the bag. I don't worry about the rest of them.
Right. All right, judges and timekeepers ready? There he goes.
We work perfect together. We don't even have to talk. We can just look at each other's eyes and tell what snake to use. And it's just that special bond we have together.
If I seen a snake that was striking and was going to bite my mother, before I let that snake bite my mother, I'd put my hand down there and let him bite me.
Well, I'd do the same for you.
Right. I mean, that's how much trust we got in each other. We're not going to, if we can keep from it, we ain't going to let the other person get bit.
The time for Bobby and Betty is 30.69 seconds. Next up's going to be Jackie and Ken.
Just before every contest, whether I'm holding the sack or I'm pinning, I go over to the side of the pit and I grab a hold of the side of the pit and I kneel down and kind of tuck my head down for just a few seconds. I don't tell anybody what I'm doing, but I'm praying, you know, because that's what I do prior to every time I'm in competition. I say a little short prayer, just invite the Lord to watch over me, keep us safe, you know, to be involved, and because that's a part of something that I do. I'll do it every time, never miss. I tend to think I don't have a specific strategy. I think I'm pretty familiar with the various elements of what to do and how to do it. Certainly technique is important, and I think I have probably developed my technique probably as well as it's ever going to get. I mean, quite frankly, I'm probably in decline, but I also know that a lot of what I'm doing is keeping me in the hunt, so to speak, as a result of the fact that I know the technique as well as I do, and I have the comfort level that I do, and I can get in my zone. But I think as far as having any new or unusual technique that will manifest itself this late in the game, I tend to doubt it.
There it is. Now that's snake sacking there, ain't it? Next up, Tim Griffin, first time snake sacker. Be pinning the snakes. Paul Trujillo holding the bag. Tim and Paul out of Austin. Just started sacking snakes today. This will be Tim's second round. And we're underway. We did have a mishap.
Well, that's what got me is after you do get bit, you know, you're supposed to stay calm and all this kind of stuff. Well, they're doing the extractor kit. They've got me in the little medical van. And these guys from the JC, or the snake handlers and JCs are coming in going, see my scar? And show me these big, huge scars that go all the way up their forearms and stuff. And it's kind of like, well, that's not exactly keeping me real calm right now.
Still got a little bit of burning. Is burning going down or going the same?
Well, most of that's going to be that extractor anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel just a little bit of burning.
See, I got a whole bunch of it out.
He just didn't pin it right. Got him on the knuckle, right across here.
Whenever he pinned, he got him too far back, and he turned around and got him on the knuckle. It just scraped him.
The reason it was as minimal as it was because I very vividly remember that head coming around with the fangs out, going for my hand right here, and I slung it, and as he went by, his fang basically raked across my finger rather than sinking into my finger.
You gonna be all right, though?
Oh, yeah.
You can stay and finish.
Can I?
Probably.
He's thinking about it now.
Hey, drop you where it's time, so.
That's right.
Yeah, he's knuckles not swelling. He's got it's bleeding real good. Got a real good pull on it. He'll be fine. He'll be able to finish the last round.
The second individual that was putting it on, he knew enough to kind of give it a little twist once he created the suction. And what he did is actually opened up the little slice across my finger, and that's when the venom started coming out.
99% of the time you get a new sacker in there, he gets bit, he won't be back.
I'm ready to try it again. Yeah, I figure the worst that'll happen is I get a bad bite, but I don't think that'll happen.
It's time to call it a day.
We're gonna do that though, we need a trophy.
Well, you can come back and get it next year. We'll get some snakes, we'll practice. Learn how to throw a little bit better, pin a little bit better. I'll be that guy right there.
I'm too shook up for it.
I wait all year for the sacking contest down here. I've been doing the sacking down here since I was a kid. And they've been trying to keep us out one way or the other, you know, like the last 3 years in a row, my time's just faster than everybody else's, but they seem to find ways to penalize me to keep me from winning first place. So this year, I come down here and the same thing happens in the first round, so I called the meeting of the judges. And we're gonna have a meeting at 12:30 right over in this pit, and we're gonna determine why they keep penalizing me and not everybody else, because I'm pinning the snakes just like everybody else is. Like last year, I had 2 judges in my last round. My first 2 rounds, my average time was like a 28-second time. I needed below a 23 to win. I get in the snake pit, 2 judges call a 17.9-second time, and 2 judges called me as a 19-second time. So they rounded it off as a 19-second time. Then they give me a penalty because they said I grabbed 2 snakes at one time. So that still made my time a 24 with a 5-second penalty. From 19 and 5 is 24. Okay, so I still had first place once. They come to me at the end of the day and says, you can't win first place because you got a penalty. I still had the fastest times out of all 3 sackers, but they wouldn't let me have first place because I had a penalty. The same people has been winning this sacking contest down here for the last 10 years. The same guys. They rotate out. One will win one year and the next one will win the next year. Something awful fishy about it to me. When somebody comes in and proves that they're faster than them and they still can't win.
We did pretty well. Right now we're in pretty good shape. Ken's laying first with me holding the sack for him, and then I'm second, I think, or third with him holding the sack for me, and Bobby Duke's right in the mix there pretty tight. Then there's a couple others, and I believe they're pretty distant back. Yeah. So those 3 is pretty much the ones that are going to be contending the way it appears, but we still got a round to go, so you know you can't tell. It can change in a hurry. We've seen some of the times here sometimes really snatch the victory right out of your face. So it can get pretty western.
It's not right. There's something going on here, and we're gonna get some things straight today. And if it don't get straightened out, I ain't coming back. I won't be back down here sacking no more. I got some questions about this not scooping of the snake. Okay, y'all saying that the snake's head's got to be completely immobile. Okay. What I was doing yesterday, I'm pinning this. Definitely had the pinner on the snake's head. And y'all considering this as an immobile pin, right?
His finger has to be on the head.
Okay.
And the other thing is, Bobby, you can't touch the head with a pinner and then take the pinner away and grab him like this. The finger has to be touching that snake.
The finger has to be touching the snake's head.
All right.
But I mean, just like he was just doing, 45-degree angle. That snake head would be able to turn 45.
Damn sure right.
You know, I mean that's 45. That's killing a snake.
David, don't get your ass bit
by a dead snake. I've been bit by a dead snake. That shit's funny. I don't care who you are. Yeah, I don't care who you are. Right there.
Hey, but I see what Bobby's saying. I've seen times that, and what Ken's saying, I've seen times. Yeah, you take somebody with a big fucking gorilla hand like Mark Rush, you take a snake like this, hit it like this, and they just ball the whole thing up and go in with it.
That snake is not going to bite me or himself right there.
That's bullshit. I've been bit like it. But anyway, I got hot yesterday. Because I've been waiting all my damn life to come down here and beat these 2 And I'm coming down here and doing it, and I'm getting faster times than everybody. Y'all killing me, man. Y'all are just strictly killing me.
We've been to those meetings ever since there's been a sacking contest. You don't get much accomplished, but it's necessary to go in there and, if nothing else, let someone vent. It's frustrating. You come here, your adrenaline is pumped, and you get in this thing and you're pumped up 900 miles an hour, and then you barely get beat, and a lot of times there's a lot of controversy because it's really hard to call some of the things that those judges are having to make a call on, and I can understand the frustration. We've been in the same position that Bobby Duke's in today because he's right close. He's trying to beat us, and he's turning in time sometimes a little bit better than ours, but because of the penalties, he's missing out by a little bit. So he's venting his frustration. I think those meetings really fulfill that purpose as much as anything else.
I've been waiting all my life to beat these guys, and I'm gonna prove it to them.
I can understand.
I've been coming down to some beach since I was 1972. And I've been waiting for this. And I'm gonna show them if it takes me the rest of my life. I'm faster than they are.
I think if I beat him this year, I better retire because I don't know if I can ever do it again. He's getting fast. He's getting good.
Let's see what happens. He's fixing to crank it up. See.
All right, folks, we're fixing to get ready to get started here. We got Robert Ackerman pinning the snake and Sean Jonas catching him.
I'm thinking go in there, try to be as safe as I can, put on a show for the people. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't.
All right, folks, here we go. Let's cheer them all.
The speed that a snake, the average speed by what I've gotten or learned through literature, the average snake, when he's fully extended in a strike motion, is doing about 60 miles an hour. From nothing to 60 in a split second. So you figure it out. You got to be a little wiser.
The time for Robert and Sean was 1.0169. That's good for novice. Next up, we're going to have Ken Garrett and Jackie Bibby in the pro category. All right, folks, here you go. Let's root them all.
There's a special technique and a special knack to this that it takes, I'd say it takes really good hand-eye coordination, and we've been doing it, and like I said, we have refined it over the years, and I like to think that I'm as good as there is right now, but I know that as I get older, they're going to start beating me.
That last time for Ken and Jackie was 24.06 seconds. Next up is Bobby Duke and Betty. They're in the pro category.
I'm gonna get in there and just go with it like I always am. I'm gonna go as fast as I can and see if I can win.
All right, folks, here they go. Let's root them all.
We'll see what happens with the judges, because it's up to the judges, man. If something hadn't changed today, I wouldn't coming back. And I hate to say that, you know, because it's just too frustrating for me. You know, and I hate this. I wait for this all year long.
The last time for Bobby and Betty was 30.985. Next up will be Jackie and Ken.
I've been in the top 3 in the professional division for about the past 20 years. I don't think I've placed out of the top 3 over once or twice in the last 20 years. And I think that's based specifically on the fact that I know how to do it as well as I do, having done it as many times as I've done it.
Time for Jackie and Ken was 46.995. Next up will be David and Trey.
I think one of the most important things is knowing when to put them down. If the snake gets twisted in your hand or something, you can always start over until you reach that point where there's a fang sticking in you. So it's always a good idea to know when to just get rid of him, start over.
That was the last second round. They're going to tally up the scores. We'll announce the winners. Third place in the pro category with a time of 40.42 seconds. Check for $350 goes to Jackie Bibby and Ken Garrett. Second place, pro category with an average of 33.555 seconds. Check for $500 goes to Bobby Duke and Betty Harris. In first place in the pro division with an average of 29.21 seconds. Check for $750 goes to Ken Garrett and Jackie Bibby.
Now I won second place in the novelist category of the National Rattlesnake Sacking Championship. What my overall average was, I can't tell you, I didn't ask. I know it's right around 50-something seconds because I had one round at 1 minute and 1 second, one at 49 and one at 53. So it's that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's just something that's fun. It's, you know, it's not for everybody. And I guess I stick with it just because I never learned to golf.
had a great day, man. You can't beat it. That's what I set out to do. I set out to get first. I'm settling for second this year. The only bad thing is this is the only year that they don't give trophies out. So I'm gonna have a dead spot on my wall for 2003. I guess I can go get me a trophy made like the old ones I put on there. I can come down here to beat Jackie Bibby, and I did it this year. Next year, look out Ken Garrett.
Well, little Bobby did place second this year, and I was proud of him for that. I love him a lot. You know, it means a great deal to me, and he and I have handled snakes a lot of times together, and I'm glad he did well. You know, I certainly didn't set out for him to beat me by any means, but you know, I was third place, he was second, but of course Ken and I were also first, so you know, that's certainly a saving grace there, the fact that I was on the first place team and the third place team, and on the first place team in the novice. I still think that tends to indicate that I'm probably still one of the best. And so I anticipate getting beat by these guys some, but I'm not really ready to retire yet. You know, I'm like maybe some of these old boxers and football players that they just not ready to hang up their gloves or their cleats, you know. I'm not quite ready to hang up my pinner yet either. You know, I think I still got a few years left.
This is exciting to do this. You just don't hobble adrenaline.
I know it was cold. I drove past the bank, and instead of the temperature up there on their sign, they actually had a symbol of the flashing of a well digger's ass. So that's cold right there.
You ever asked David Gay if he moved the house? He was outside. We kept talking about how, you know, we was pulling these snakes out from his hole, and then we could just see them, you know, and every one I'd catch, I'd have it by the tail. And I had 3 guys under with me, and they'd all scatter when I brought one out, because they would strike, you know, and and David Gay just couldn't stand it. He took off under that house, and there was one low beam, and the whole house shook when he hit it. We asked him, "Are you okay?" Yeah.
Hopefully I won't shave between now and next year. I think that, especially when you're borderline crazy, a man should not have to get up early in the morning and put a sharp piece of steel in his throat, you know that? That's tempting fate.
Because once you get in there, I mean, I've got a guy standing 2 feet in front of me and I can't hear him screaming and hollering at me because you get in that much of a mental zone. I mean, you can't hear the crowd, you can't hear anything around you.
Oh, yeah, I put myself in danger from time to time. I run the risk. You know, hell, I used to skydive, ride bulls, and race motorcycles. I'm an adrenaline junkie. You know, can't lock me up for it. Ain't illegal.